A viewer called Icarus Rising recently left a comment reflecting on something they've noticed over the past year of watching this channel. After turning away from pet culture, they began investing their time and attention into wildlife habitat. Native gardening, proper birdhouses, ecological restoration, and watching the local animals who choose to live in those restored spaces. Their suggestion is simple but profound. What if the ethical alternative to pet ownership is not a different kind of pet, but an entirely different mode of relationship, one grounded in habitat, not possession? This idea resonates with what I practice around my own home, putting up nesting boxes for tree swallows and chickadees, feeding Steller's jays and hummingbirds, and refusing to mow the lawn so the flowers and insects that sustain birds can actually exist. These acts are not ownership. They are participation in ecology. The viewer describes building wren and chickadee houses to counter displacement by invasive sparrows, planting native vegetation, and supporting species that urban landscapes have pushed to the margins. Their experience parallels a shift many people undergo when they step outside the pet paradigm. Once you stop confining an animal, your relationship to animals, all animals, changes. What remains is interaction without control. Pet culture merges affection with possession. Historically, domestication was never about companionship. It was about utility, containment, and the human desire to extract predictable behavior from another species. Over time, this utilitarian logic became sentimentalized. Ownership was rebranded as love. Confinement became care. Dependence became intimacy. The illusion works only because the animal cannot refuse. But the moment you begin interacting with wildlife on their terms, birds, insects, pollinators, mammals, the contrast becomes visible. You realize how much of the bond with a pet is created not by connection, but by captivity. The viewer suggested that humanity's ethical replacement for pet ownership could be ecological participation, not owning animals, but restoring the systems they inhabit. This aligns with the practices I maintain around my home, which demonstrate how care can operate without control. When you allow flowers, grasses, and insects to exist, you support the entire food chain, from pollinators to the birds that feed on them. This is care at ecosystem scale, not individual scale. Tree swallows use the boxes I put up because they choose to. The box is not a cage. It is a structural opportunity. The difference is crucial. Choice marks the boundary between assistance and ownership. The Steller's jays who visit me are not mine. Only one out of the group of about 15 even chooses to eat from my hand.
Birdie!
They all look slightly different, which only becomes apparent if you observe them closely. They all have their own personalities. Some are bold, some are shy, some are loud, some are more quiet, some are sassy, some are cheeky, some readily approach me while some maintain their distance. They all have a distinct character, because they all have their own autonomy. Each breeding season, I assist a minimum of 4 nesting female rufous hummingbirds, sometimes more, in the feeding of their young, along with the males who stay for only a short time. They come and go as they please. I simply maintain a nectar source that mimics the flowers they evolved with. Native vegetation, leaf litter, fallen branches, these are not aesthetic decisions. They are microhabitats, breeding sites, and overwintering shelters. By preserving them, you are not helping an individual animal. You are repairing the conditions that make life possible. Preventing window strikes, removing toxins, reducing artificial lighting. These interventions save wildlife by minimizing the harms humans introduce. They ask nothing of the animals in return. When you step outside the ownership model, something becomes clear. The most meaningful interactions with animals are the ones you cannot force. A jay accepting a peanut from your hand is voluntary. A hummingbird returning is optional. A tree swallow selecting a nesting box is a decision, not an obligation. Contrast this with the pet, whose entire life trajectory, home, movement, diet, reproduction, social contacts, is determined by the human. The relationship is built on dependence, not reciprocity. Wildlife reveals what interspecies connection looks like when the animal retains the ability to walk away or fly away. Habitat creation is often dismissed as peripheral or symbolic, but in reality, it is the deepest form of care available to humans. To care for a creature without owning it, without controlling it, without extracting emotional validation from it. That is a form of love stripped of illusion. It is ecological, not sentimental. It is grounded in autonomy rather than captivity. And it does not require the animal to sacrifice its freedom in order to satisfy the human's psychological needs. This is why the viewer's idea is so compelling. They are not proposing a different kind of pet. They are proposing a different understanding of what it means to coexist with animals at all. In the end, what we build for wildlife is not just habitat. It is a gesture toward the kind of world we want to inhabit alongside them. A world where our presence does not eclipse their freedom, where our care does not demand their captivity, and where the lives around us remain whole, self-directed, and uncontained. When a jay lands near you because it wants to, when a hummingbird returns because it chooses to, when the flowers you refused to mow become a corridor for pollinators, these movements are small, but they are real. They reveal what's possible when humans learn to step back, to participate without possessing, and to love without claiming ownership. Maybe this is what coexistence looks like, when we finally stop trying to turn wild beings into reflections of ourselves. Maybe this is what care becomes when we give the animal its life back. The future is pet-free.